Well, welcome to Did She Really Say That? And Susie's on with us today because, there's one thing that we don't tap into as women is our own intuition. And I love the conversations we're going to have around the wise women, some of her stress reducing techniques that we're going to go over because you know me. I love, as we've been building out and using the Create Her Planner, as women, as collective, learning a new way of planning, a new way of living into our natural embodied cycle. Some of that looks at what is our bodies doing? How are we monitoring that? How are we really regulating that? And that's why one of the reasons I invited Susie here, not only because she ties into our concept and supports what we're doing around the Create Her Planner, but she also is going to give you another layer around this on really what you want to be looking at. How do you reduce that stress that we all deal with as women and really getting back into your body? So, who the heck is Susie? I'm so glad you asked. She's excited to be here with us. So, she is a certified professional coach, energy. Wait, she's a certified leadership. Boo. See, I'm screwing this up and having fun doing this. All right, so who is Susie again? We'll get back into this. Certified professional coach. She's an energy leadership indexed master practitioner. So let me say that again. She's an energy leadership index master practitioner. I think that's fantastic. We'll dive a little bit into that background with her. She's a certified facilitator of trauma informed body mind program and the creator of the Wise Woman, giving women the ability to rise, feel empowered, and to truly thrive as their most authentic and human self, right? She helps women interrupt the stress response cycle, reconnect with your bodies. And ladies, every time we talk about this on this podcast, did she really say that? We're talking about getting back into your bodies, reconnecting, getting out of your head, getting back in to remember who you are before the world really told us who we should have be. And that's, you know how I feel about shitting. We should not be shitting all over the place, okay? So she believes that growth happens in communities. She's aligned with me on that one. The more community connected we are, the better. Clarity comes from curiosity, not control, and that we can always find a way back home to ourselves if we learn to listen. So, Susie, thank you for joining us and being with us here today. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here as well. This is my first podcast experience, and I could not be more thrilled that it is with you, Katrina.
We're going to have some fun. So, I want to dive in first a little bit. What is an energy leadership index master practitioner? I think that's the one question everyone sit there when they heard me say that, which is why I repeated it twice. It was like, what is that? I don't even think I've ever heard that until I met you. So, explain.
Sure. So, the Energy Leadership Index is actually an assessment. I know a lot of folks out there probably know like the Myers Briggs or the Clifton Strengths. So, the ELI, that's the short version. It's a Forbes top ranked, yada, yada assessment. It's research backed, but it's very different from those other assessments that I named because it
Okay.
is attitudinal. It acknowledges that we as human beings have the ability to change. We are not fixed. And that's what I really love about this assessment. And what it does is it shows you how you show up on a typical day across 7 different energy levels, and then how you show up under stress, under those same 7 energy levels. And it can be usually the way that I use the ELI is that I work with people, take the assessment, and then they get a one on one debrief with me
Hmm.
where we really dive into the results. And more women have used, which I find this fascinating, the exact same phrase of amazingly accurate to describe that debrief experience, which, goes really well on like a LinkedIn post. But
Yes.
it truly is eye-opening, and helps people think about stress in a different way and also possibility in a different way.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, because as I've talked with women and I've met women that run companies, they don't necessarily like the title, the CEO, like Chief Executive Officer. I've heard everything from like Chief Emotional Officer, Chief Energy Officer. Like I've actually heard the was women were shifting that language, and a lot of women are really drawn to the energy element of leadership. And I think
Mhm.
that's really where I when I asked this question about what it is, and you said, it's about it's not a fixed. I think that's one of my biggest issues with so many assessments. It's like a fixed moment in time or a moment of when which you were born. Like some of these, like the human design, and I'm not bashing anything for those that are huge Vixie. I've had you on my podcast, but it's a fixed moment of when you entered into this space, but who you are as you evolve gives you that opportunity to really look beyond. It's like, well, who do I want to become? And I think that's the other element that we have in this conversation is who am I becoming? So that is really fascinating when you talk about like the energy, how your stress relates to that. And so this really, you're diving into stress regulation now with women, because I know that's a big piece of this. So talk to me about how you're kind of what you're noticing as you're working with women. What are some of the techniques that you're developing that help women kind of interrupt that stress cycle?
Thank you so much for that question. So, I definitely rely on the Energy Leadership Index to kind of provide women with a baseline of here's how you're showing up, and also a framework for
Mm,
talking about it in a different way, right? Because sometimes I've learned through the work that I do with women is that when you just throw things at them and everything is wide open, it's overwhelming and it actually triggers that stress response. And so bringing some structure to a conversation creates a boundary, and
yeah.
boundaries for me are all about creating space for exploration. Um, I might have strayed away from your question a little bit, but
No,
is
you're
that
perfect. You're perfectly on the question because it gives women the ability to look at, okay, what am I reacting to in this situation? What am I saying to myself? How is my body responding? I think that's one of the big things for me. I've come to recognize even in myself. This was my like interruption 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago. It was like I got off a call with my mentor, my business partner, my coach, and I was like, what are we doing to go to the next level? What are we doing to scale? And everything that fell out of his mouth just sounded like exhausting. And at the same time, I know it was triggering some stress inside of me. But it all felt up here, and this down here felt numb.
yes, 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 totally.
So why was that whole body experience numb? Like, tell me what was going on over
So
here.
let's break down a little bit how stress keeps women small.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna look at it through the four key stress responses,
Okay.
which are freeze, fawn, fight, and flee. Fawn, by the way, a lot of people don't know about that one,
I
but
did. When you said fawn, I was like, wait, are we talking like deer? And that's where my brain went. So talk to us. So break
so
down each of these four. So
fawning,
let's start at the top and break down each of these four stress responses that we're experiencing.
totally. So fawn, this is what we show up as people pleasing.
Mm.
Women apologizing constantly, trying to meet everyone else's expectations, trying to
Ah,
mold themselves into what they think others want them to be. And it is all for self protection. All of these are for self protection, by the way.
okay, I'm gonna stop you right here at fawn. How many women in this audience that were just listening to that go? Because I just felt myself go, dear God, raise my hand, right? Like you just described me to a T. So okay, so
Yeah.
fawn. So that's the over pleasing, over giving, having to serve everybody. Okay, that.
Yeah. Having to show up as the life of the party, all of the ways that we show
Ooh,
up for others and leave ourselves at the door.
yikes. Okay,
Okay, so
all
the
right.
next one, let's talk about freezing. So this is basically holding back, staying silent when you have something to say, not taking action on your dreams, keeping yourself in the background. Fleeing is very similar. It's really about avoiding being seen, running away, like from the moments when you actually do have an opportunity to speak up, being so terrified you run. You just
Mm,
let others take the spotlight. You make yourself invisible even when you deserve recognition.
mm.
And then,
I, I can see that showing up also in personal relationships. Like I'm thinking to myself, there have been times where I flee. So instead of being willing to go into the conversation, I'd rather retreat and hide from the conversation. I mean, I'm
yeah,
just totally pointing on myself because that's my okay. So fleeing. So we got fawn, freeze, fleeing, and
the last one is fight. Now, for women, I find this shows up often a little bit differently. Like
mm,
women in general, we are not socialized to get into actual confrontations. We tend to be conflict avoidant. But what I see with my clients is a constant state of vigilance. So, one of my coaches, I love her, the analogy that she uses. She said, picture a cat back arched, ready to pounce, on guard, no matter what. So, this is what we often do. This is our way of fighting. It's tensed up, always on guard, holding a protective stance just in case. And this is absolutely exhausting for our nervous systems. Another image is like when my mother, I remember once we traveled to a big city, and at night, it was a big city she wasn't used to, and she literally put keys in her knuckles so that if she had to punch somebody, it would like poke them. And my mother has probably never punched anyone in her entire life, but she's ready to. She's got those extra keys ready to go in her fist. Just
Yep.
so that on guard feeling is the way that we get our fight out into it. And
Mm.
we often also, by the way, fight shows up internally within ourselves. It shows up through blaming, complaining, frustration. Anyway,
Shaming, all of that
yeah.
too.
And the bottom line is that when we're overwhelmed by stress, we're in reaction mode and we're not making conscious choices. We're just operating from our nervous system instead of from our wise mind.
And we do that too, even as women as entrepreneurs. Like when we're looking at businesses and all the options and opportunities that we can do for our business, we create that internal stress factor for ourselves too, because we want to do it perfectly. We want this sense of perfection. I think that plays into a lot of the stress that we deal with as women too, is this we have to look, be, act a certain way. Where so
Yeah.
we are internally just beating ourselves up over everything. Um, so yeah, I can definitely do that. So you're talking about so I love this phrase too. So we've kind of been on this journey with you. We know what this assessment that you say is like the base core, right? It's energy leadership. It's that energy leadership index. You want to look at taking that as a woman, go through, find out what is that piece. And then when you work with Susie, she dives you deeper into it, makes you understand. It's like, yeah, that's me kind of a thing. And then we're talking you through like how to like like how to interrupt that stress. So
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the things, and I know we started talking about the wise woman, we'll get to wise women, just wait a minute, women, just hold on, it's coming. But let's talk about those stress interrupters. So now that you've defined the four, and I felt myself just get up, and I love the cat analogy because I can definitely see that like always on guard. um in the world, and even in the world of dating, which I'm in right now, I feel like I'm always on guard too. So I can see where letting that go and releasing. So what are some of your tips for the stress interruption piece?
Okay, so I use four main skills.
Okay.
Now, there's a million others that I include in the course, different ways of tapping into this, but I've grouped my core techniques under a little acronym
Ooh.
called BEST, Turtle
Okay.
Fire's BEST tool. And each letter stands for a practice. Now, I would like to say I did not invent these things, right? There's probably a million other people who practice these, but I do try to make them easier to remember and group together.
Okay.
So all of the practices are important, but B and E combined are really the most impactful. B stands for breath. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, stop talking about breathing," right? Like people
Wait a minute.
don't.
Hold up. I'm gonna stop everyone to a breath. Let me just talk about this. Susie, do we have a little story right before we jumped onto this podcast you'd like to share?
Totally. Yes. I have never been on a podcast before. So I came in, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I've been to the bathroom a million times. My nervous system is a little anxious, right? And I love this about you. You cued me into breath, which is so demonstrative of how often we need the support of others to bring us into things that we already know, right? Because when we're in that triggered mode, it's it's difficult to practice. I will say I probably would have breathed on my own, but I love that you told me to because it helped me know that I would have the space to do that,
Mm.
right? Without having to advocate for myself. And so I just want to say thank you for that.
You're welcome. And it's that acknowledgement too for all of the audience that's listening and our listeners here. We are in the work. And yet we do need reminders. And I think that's the sisterhood. That's the community. It's like, Susie, breathe. And if I, same thing, if I came on and I was like, Susie, I'm going, you'd be like, shh, what do you got? Like take a moment to breathe. So it's as a community, as women, it's acknowledging that and just saying, okay, it's okay to take a breath. Like we're not expecting you to jump from one activity into the next, and like really creating that safe space to be and to take those moments. Okay, so your best practice is breathe. So breathe is the first one. What are we looking at for the second one?
So I like to combine B with E, and E stands for emotions in the body.
Mm,
So often we are disconnected from our bodies. As you mentioned earlier, and I think you did a visual, you're living up here in the head.
yep.
And so the E really invites us to tune into our body sensations. And the breath helps us to create a break so that we can do that. And our brain wants to avoid feeling anything in the body. It really is like, no, 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 let's solve this problem. Let's get going. Let's take some action because often the sensations that come up in our body aren't very comfortable, right? They just don't
Yes,
always.
often. Okay, yes.
Yeah. So when we pause, breathe, and tune into our body's sensations,
Mm,
we are giving our body the opportunity to, we're giving our mind the opportunity to listen to our body, and we're giving our body the message that we care and that we are listening. Now, in the beginning, the body doesn't always talk. You might tune in and
true.
experience total numbness. You're just like,
Truth.
whatever, this stupid lady told me to tune in. I got nothing. And then our mind takes over and starts to judge ourselves and do all of those crazy things.
This is stupid. What am I doing?
Right.
This feels awkward. I don't
There's
feel like
something
for
wrong with me.
myself. Yeah, something wrong with me.
Right.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
the more that we just be with that numbness, the more the body starts to build trust and we build
Mm,
trust in our body. And the more that we start to notice our sensations. When we build that relationship with our body, and vice versa, our body building that relationship with us, then we're actually able to tap into our intuition, our inner wisdom more easily.
I
And we
love that.
learn also that our emotions and our body sensations are not going to kill us, they're not out to get us.
You're basically teaching your body that it's safe to be in your body.
Yes.
And I think that really hit home for me just listening to you say that. It's like, how many times as a woman do you not feel safe in your own body? And when you don't tap in, when you don't listen, and like I said, even inside of the Create Her Planner, when we do the accountability, when we tap in, we actually ask you to get back in tune with your body because it's such a basic element of being a woman that we've suppressed and shut down because we've been told we don't feel safe. We've been criticized, so we don't feel safe in our body. So how do we have let somebody else help us or feel safe around them if we don't feel safe ourselves? That's really key.
Yeah, I think
I like that.
also when I remember when we talked about your planner and you were talking about how we kind of live in this man's world on this man's timeline. And the truth is that we also try to adopt men's way of doing things, which tends to be focused
Analytical.
in the brain and just leaves the intuition out the window. And I don't want to, offend
No,
any
we're not
men out
bashing.
there,
Yeah.
but that is just how our society functions.
Yeah.
And so, and we miss out on so much wisdom when we ignore our wisdom within because women carry so much wisdom.
Amen. Ta-da. Okay, so let's get back in and put this. So we've got breath. We have the emotions in your body. I think that's really it's not just the emotions you're feeling, but the emotions in your body. What is the S and the T?
So the S is senses.
Mm,
Now, I would say this is really good also when you're having a hard time doing the E or
mm,
when you need more than just breath, right? Because the goal with everything is to pause and create space to tune in. But if you only just pause, then you are just inviting that freeze response to come in. So you can't pause alone. You have to pause and do something. And for some people, breath is really hard,
Mm.
but senses are easier. So you pick one sense that you're going to focus on. One of my favorites is to literally hold up your hand and combine breath with senses. So what we're going to do, Katrina, would you like to do this with me?
Yes, please.
Is trace your finger up your thumb and breathe in, and then breathe out as you come down. Now notice what it feels like, the touch. Breathe in as you go up the next finger. Breathe out as you come down. Breathe in and up, noticing what it feels like to actually touch your skin and experience that touch as you continue to breathe through the rest of the fingers. And when you bring a mindfulness to that activity
That's
and you're
cool.
truly with it, you're in tune with your senses, you're connected physically to your body,
Mm.
you are also inviting calm through the breath. And you can pick any sense. The thing that I love about this one too is that you can bring it, I mean, really all of these you can bring anywhere. So you can be in the middle of a job interview and want to calm your nervous system and bring your attention to your touch and notice what it feels like to touch your hands in your lap, for example, or bring your attention to listening
Mm.
and just a moment of bringing yourself into the present moment awareness. I mean, that's what the goal is, connected through your body, one of your body's senses.
Yeah, I love that you do that because I think as women, the one thing we avoid is actually touch of ourselves.
Mhm.
Well, there is something that we have been taught, whether innately or down, but the idea of physically touch, holding, experiencing your body is like a forbidden type of a thing. So it's really interesting as you do this, and I know you do this inside of the Wise Women cohort. Like this is your part of your 9 week transformation and really having women truly experience this shift and transformation around breaking the stress cycle, becoming more embodied literally in themselves and understanding that through your methodology. And there's one interesting thing that we chatted about. You said like of the first group and you're continuing this, right? So this
Mhm.
is all my listeners, all the audience out there, this is something I truly would recommend stepping into with Susie is step into this wise woman because there is, like she said, and you've mentioned it, Susie, there is a wisdom tapped trapped right now inside our body as women. So, what has been I guess, the outcome of the women that have gone through your program so far? This was an interesting and fascinating statistic that I'm just curious as it continues to evolve what it will be looking like.
Thank you so much for asking that. So I do a pre and a post, right? Because I do the there is a part of me that recognizes that a lot of people care about data. So, and
Well,
over
you have a little bit of
70
a background in data collection, so we're good. Like, we want this in here. So, yes.
over 70% of the participants in the first round of Wise Women reported at the end that they were had improved their ability to manage stress,
Mm,
and over 70% improved their connection to and their relationship with their bodies.
I love that.
And more than the majority reported that on a typical day, the percentage of that day that they felt alive and engaged increased over
Mm,
the course. And I really feel like that's kind of my dream, is that women feel alive and engaged and connected. And some experienced nearly 100% increases in daily vitality. I mean, I will
mm.
tell you, some of the women moved up by 300% their connection to their body.
I
It's
can see that even in that little the exercise for those that were not watching and are listening, and we did the hand to breath exercise, and I do invite you to trace and do that work for yourself, even in that few minutes that it takes, right? Less than 30 seconds, maybe 90 seconds. Um, but there is a beauty in that when you're able to really combine those elements of what you're talking about, like the best, and inside of that emotional intelligence and just getting to back to the wiseness that's innately held in our bodies as women, right? And seeing that come through. So this has been, as for our audience, come play. Because I hear all the time there's a lot of talk around, oh, do breath work, do this. But what I love about what you're doing, Susie, is like you're combining the modalities.
Hmm.
And I think so many times, and I love our men out there, you know I do, but I think sometimes we segment everything because we're trying to prove one piece of the puzzle. But humans are complex beings. We're not one thing and one thing only. So I think when you start siloing all these modalities, but you're not letting them breathe and cross barriers and weave together, you're actually doing more harm than good. And so I like where you're like, no, let's blend this together. Let's bring these things in. Let's look at what stress response is specifically in women, right? How do we tap back into our intuition, create our safe space in our own bodies so that that radiates out? Because I will tell you this, women, when you start feeling safe in your own body, you will start increasing your attraction to the things you want and the desires you want in your life. But it does start with you. Would you agree, Susie? It starts with the women first.
Totally.
Okay.
Yes, I completely agree.
All right. So this is a podcast called Did She Really Say That? Right? And you've said some things already that had me go, need to know, right? Has there been a moment as you've coached women, as you're kind of going through this journey in your business where you've said something and the woman looked at you and go like, holy crap, did she just really say that?
Yeah, so I think that happens often in coaching because
All the time.
it's all about helping. And I would say that often it happens around boundaries.
Mm,
A lot of women come to me, and when they talk about like a boundary, they're talking about trying to externally control someone. And the the did she really say that is, oh no, 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 no. Boundaries are not about other people. They're not for other people. Boundaries are for you. Boundaries are about creating space for you to feel safe enough to heal. And you can't
mm,
trust that other people are going to do what you say. You have
yeah.
to be the one to take the action and to maintain the boundary. And when I've had these conversations with women, there is like a big aha that goes off in their heads. And then we dive deeper and I help them actually learn how to set and maintain boundaries. And it's
Thank you.
through that action of maintaining their boundaries that I get to witness their confidence bloom, their sense of power bloom. And it's so beautiful to witness.
Yeah. I love that. So what's next for Susie and Wise Women? So what does this look like for you moving forward?
So I actually am in the middle of a launch right now. I
Okay.
am opening up two Wise Women cohorts in January because everybody likes to do things in the new year.
Yeah, we
One
do.
of Yeah, one of them will be in person, which I'm so excited about. For any listeners that live in the greater Boston
Mm,
area, we will be meeting in Brookline for an in-person Wise Women. And
love
one of
it.
them will be online for anyone who does not live in the greater Boston area.
Okay.
So that's what I'm super excited about. And I also offer a coaching add on for people who want additional support and want to kind of continue the practice moving on.
I
Um,
love that. So
yeah.
yeah, for everyone that's listening, the wise woman, like she said, at the we this she is opening this door. So I do invite you to come play with her. There is definitely we connected right off the bat. Definitely when we got into this, Susie's like, yeah, definitely need to do this. So the wise woman, there is a link down in the show notes. So wherever you're listening from, if you go down in the show notes, there's going to be a link down in there. click on that, head into her wise woman cohort. Like this is really, I love even the name for this because it shows an intimacy and a willingness. Is there a limit on how many women you're taking into each cohort?
There is. So between 10 and 15 max. Ideally, I'd like to keep it a little bit lower, but
No,
if I get a
good for
lot
you.
of response, we'll see. It's
Well, and I
nothing
think one of the
insurmountable.
things that you might do is you might actually create another one. So kind of
Right.
like it be, or there might be a wait list. So for my audiences listening, you have a very narrow window to get into and be part of this, which is an intimate setting, safe for women, a place for you to really open up and understand and listen to and discover that wise woman inside of you. And this is it's 9 weeks, right?
It
So what
is.
else are you going to do in the next 9 weeks that potentially has the ability for you to really, as a woman that is an entrepreneur dealing with your family life, your health, your all of those aspects, what would it look like? And I ask you to really imagine what would 2026 look like and feel like for you if you could regulate your stress, be able to interrupt that pattern, to recenter who you are, to step into the world and the life that you truly desire, feeling safe in your own body. What would that look like for you? So if you're listening, my audience, and you know I love you, one of the things I always say is that we are here in collaboration and connection. If you heard something inside of this conversation and you thought of another woman, then I ask that you share this with them. So this may not be for you, but it might be for another woman you know, right? The whole thing is about connecting each other. So follow us, follow Susie, learn from her, and that's what we're building. We're building the network of women that you can source, reference, connect, because the world is becoming a much smaller place and relationships are key. And so
Mm.
I'm opening the door for you here on side of did she really say that to participate in a way that really serves all the women that have been on our podcast, that are continuing to build extraordinary businesses, that are shifting the way and giving us back our gifts as women. These are definitely the only one that can give us back our gift as a woman is another woman. And once you receive that, our calling is then to invite and pass that on to another woman. And that's the wisdom. That is the wise woman, is that you don't keep it for yourself. We're out here expressing it, experiencing it, and inviting other women to participate in it. So, any last words of wisdoms for our audience, Susie? This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, I just want to say thank you so much. You had so much tremendous wisdom just now. I think you said it better than I could. And I love learning more about what you do, and I feel so aligned, and I'm just so grateful to have been invited to participate today. Thank you so much. And by the way, the T is thank you. We didn't finish. The T is
Oh my
thank
goodness,
you.
we did not. How dare I?
The
So,
T is all about thanking your body
mm,
for that moment and marking it, because often when we have success, we don't mark it. And then we don't remember that we had it. And then we have a hard time doing it again. And so getting in the habit of thanking your brain, your body, your own wisdom for coming out is a way to mark the moment. And that just makes it easier for your brain to give space for that to happen again and build your confidence.
thank you for bringing in that last best piece. I was gonna leave him hanging, telling him you got to find out more for the last piece. You're gonna have to go find her, but you dropped it right in there, so we're good. I will say though, like in designing the create her planner, that was one element we had to put in there, and then not only did we put it in as a celebration, but we get you on the in the group together to celebrate. Like it's not a so. I cannot tell you how many times, ladies, I'm the one reminding you of all your accomplishments. Because we talk and we do this that I'm like, well, but did you do this and didn't you do this? Like, oh yeah, right. So you're right. We don't think ourselves. It's fleeting. We think success happens and then we're on to the next thing. And so yeah, Susie,
Well, I think also that we think that success is a fluke or luck. We don't
terrible.
own our success. And then we think that we just automatically, when we do that, we forget how to repeat it and we
Mm.
struggle to do the same thing that we've just done. And so when we stop and pause and thank and acknowledge, then it makes it easier the next time.
Yeah.
Truth
You just got
bomb. Boom. Did she
yeah, that's
really
what I was
say
gonna say. It's
that?
like there's a
Yes, she
truth bomb
did.
right there. She literally boom, there you go. There's a mic drop that just happened. So there's your truth bomb. Now, did she really say that? She did. You're welcome. All right, audience. Thank you for joining us. You know the drill. Share out, invite, like, comment. Let Susie know that you love her, appreciate her. Sign up and join her cohort of wise women. And for all my listeners, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.